Alright, so after the introduction of Im Sama almost 8 years ago in chapter 906, we finally get to see Im Sama's face. Even though I don't think it's her actual face, I think this is when she turns into a devil. So this is like a devil form. But still, after we done wait almost a decade, after Im Sama was first introduced, after we found out that there was actually someone sitting on the empty throne, we finally get to see Im Sama in the flesh and in action. I'm almost getting emotional because this is a tangible sign that One Piece might come to an end soon. Because Im Sama is supposed to be the ultimate villain. When you think about the ultimate villains in One Piece, it's Im Sama and his Blackbeard. Now, Im Sama has come to meet Loki and Luffy in the flesh to deal with them firsthand, and that's crazy. So let's just get into it. First of all, before we start, the world government and their forces have to catch some of this smoke. The Marines have to catch some smoke. The Marines are an absolute embarrassment. The God Knights are an absolute embarrassment. These guys are supposed to be Im Sama's private militia. They are supposed to be Im Sama's warriors. So they are supposed to be the strongest and the highest echelon of fighters on the side of the world government. But they were so easily dealt with that they are not really a threat. Like, now we know that Luffy and Loki can pretty much one-shot the God Knight. Okay, they said Shamrock wasn't around, but was Shamrock really going to make a difference? Honestly. The fact that these guys are supposed to be the strongest thing that the world government has to offer, and they don't hold a candle, just Luffy and Loki. We are not counting Shanks, we are not counting any other person that might join the Straw Hats. The mere fact that Luffy and Loki, the fact that that duo could deal with the God Knights, the fact that Zoro could probably take down one of the God Knights, the fact that all it took to put an end to Killingham's powers were Sanji's flames. This is such an embarrassment, honestly. Like, if this is all Im Sama has to offer besides their own power, Im Sama is in serious trouble. Obviously, at the end of last chapter, Luffy and Loki came down on Elbaf and they were able to deal with all the carnage that was going on, free the kids, put an end to the beasts that were summoned by Killingham, etc, etc. And they came face to face with Im Sama. So at the end of last chapter, there was a direct confrontation between Im Sama and Loki and Luffy. Im Sama, precisely because the God Knights were an absolute embarrassment, decided to take the matter into her own hands and to go on Elbaf. They decided to go on Elbaf to deal with Elbaf personally. That's what happened. So we were super hyped at the end of last chapter. I was on the edge of my seat. My heart was racing. My head was about to burst because I was like, oh my god, Im Sama is finally stepping out of the basement. Im Sama has been in the basement for 600 years. Like, no kidding, legit. She has been closeted for 600 years. She hasn't been outside for 600 years. Imagine not touching grass for 600 years. Like, that's how scared she was of going outside. But when she saw Nika and Nidhogg, when they saw Loki and Luffy, they were like, no, I need to put an end to this. I need to put my actual hands on these people. You know how Im Sama is? Im Sama has this god complex of, I don't deal with people personally. I always send my spawns. I always send my warriors. I always send my fighters, right? The Marines are there, my private militia is there, so I don't have to dirty my hands. I don't have to get my hands dirty. But for this one, Im Sama was like, no. I need to oversee this personally. So she or he or they, I don't even know their gender. It doesn't even matter. They decided to go on Elbaf personally. Like, it shows you how personally they are taking this. And from the way they were interacting with Loki and Luffy, you can tell that there seems to be some history between Im Sama and Loki and Luffy, because they spoke about Nika as if they knew Nika. And when you saw what happened at the end of the chapter, you can kind of tell that there seems to be a particular relationship between Im Sama and Nika, because Im Sama is supposed to be the devil, and obviously Nika is a god and he's all white, and Im Sama is all black. So this might be a black and white antithesis going on between the two of them. You get into it. Alright, so at the beginning of this chapter, you have Im Sama, who finally decides to descend on the lower realm. And you obviously have the 5 elders. Well, 4 of the 5 elders who are trying to dissuade them. Like, oh my god, my lord, don't go down there, it's dirty. You are the supreme authority. You have no business going down there with these commoners, with these peasants. You are the president. You don't belong in the slums. Im Sama is like, nigga, shut the f up. I gave you a mission and you couldn't fulfill my mission. I told you guys to deal with Nika and you were not able to deal with Nika. So what do you think I'm about to do? You think I'll wait here patiently so that Luffy and Cole will come by Marie-Joise and get me? No. I need to meet them halfway. I need to go there and deal with them right there, right now. So the 5 elders were trying to dissuade Im Sama. My lord, don't go there. Im Sama was like, get out of my way. And you even have Garling who came in and who tried to be the voice of reason. He tried to be the voice of reason between Im Sama and the 5 elders. He was like, come on guys, you guys know that we can't keep playing these games. You guys know that the pirates are coming for us. You guys know that the D's are coming for us. So since our Lord and Savior wants to go and deal with them, let them go and deal with them. Because one way or the other, sooner or later, they will come and get us here. So we might as well get into it right now in the heat of the moment. Garling understands the dire situation. He understands the state of emergency. Marie-Joise has been attacked. The world nobles don't even have food at this point. They can barely eat. And he even brings that point up. He's like, we are supposed to be the leaders of the world, and we can't even eat because we've been attacked by the revolutionaries. We are being attacked on all fronts. We are being attacked by pirates. We are being attacked by revolutionaries. Who knows, one of these days, maybe a faction within the marine might even commit a rebellion against us. And Garling understands the dire situation. Now, one thing I want to know is what exactly is happening at Marie-Joise, because it seems like Marie-Joise has been attacked. Because even when Shamrock was on Elbaf, obviously he was told to get back to Marie-Joise because there was a problem. We don't know what's the actual problem, but we know there's something going on here. But something is going on at Marie-Joise, and something is going on Elbaf. Everything is hostile around them. And Garling is the only one who understands that if we don't deal with this right now, things might blow out of proportion. Im Sama also understands that, which is the reason why Im Sama decides to go on Elbaf. We then find out, I found out, I wasn't aware of this, that there is now a power plant. There's a new labo phase at Marie-Joise that was allegedly built by York. York is on Marie-Joise working on how to recreate the mother flame for Im Sama. As she's trying to recreate the mother flame, obviously, it's very costly. It costs a lot of resources, a lot of energy, etc., etc. And she needs all of that. And she's calling Garling, and when Garling is on the phone, she's basically cursing him out like, dog, I told you I needed everything. I'm hungry. I don't even have food. Where is the food? Because York has like a tremendous appetite. I think that's one of her characteristics. She is the one that's in charge of eating, and out of all the incarnations of Vegapunk. And what is happening on Marie-Joise right now, there's a food shortage. So that makes it a bit complicated for the 5 elders to deal with York. But York needs food, so they are going to have to find a way to feed York. Because they need York to build the power plant. Because without the power plant, there's no Mother Flame. And we know Mother Flame, Im Sama's plant can't come to fruition. So there's this little back and forth between Garling and York, where she's cursing him out and he's telling her that everybody is dealing with food shortage. Even the world nobles themselves can barely eat at this point because of what the Revolutionary Army did, allegedly. So they are going through this back and forth. Garling has a sit down with the other 4 elders and they basically discuss the state of the world, right? They bring up the fact that Nika manifested and Luffy has the sun god fruits. And of course, the age-old question has to pop up again. You guys been known since the beginning of the story. Ever since you guys found out that Luffy was the one who ate the Nika fruit. Why didn't you deal with Luffy right then and right there? Why did you guys wait for him to become the strongest pirates on the seas to then say, okay, now let's deal with this guy? You guys know since East Blue that he ate that fruit. Why didn't you do anything back then? Imagine when Luffy was just arriving on the Grind Line, or imagine when Luffy was at Locktown. They could have just sent 3 God Knights to deal with Luffy. And I'm sure they would have dealt with Luffy. They would have dealt with Luffy and everybody else at that time. But they didn't do it. They decided to wait. And now Luffy is the strongest nigga in the world and there isn't much they can do about it. So that's the age-old question. Obviously, we know that the way the story was written, Oda didn't necessarily have the whole Nika thing in mind. Oda didn't have the whole story planned out at that point. So that might explain why the God Knights didn't step in at that time. And then, as the 5 elders are going on about their conversation, we also have Im Sama having a flashback and thinking and obsessing over his 1,000-year-old enemy, right? He thinks about Rocks, he thinks about Roger, he thinks about Cobra, he thinks about all these guys who have always stood up to contest his authority, and of course, his man. And like we said, Im Sama has reached the breaking point where they are like, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. I'm going to attack the tree to the root. I'm going to unroot the tree. This time, there is no, oh, I'll send someone to deal with you guys. No, I will come there and deal with you guys personally. And that's what happens. Im Sama is able to teleport to Elbaf through those transmutation circles that they put everywhere. Despite the 5 elders opposing Im's decision to go on Elbaf, at the end of the day, there isn't much they can do because Im Sama is their boss. So they decide to let go and they decide to let Im Sama go on Elbaf to do whatever has to be done. And then we come back on Elbaf and now we have a little scenery of everything that's happening, the aftermath of the events, the aftermath of the battle between the God Knights and the people of Elbaf and their allies. And obviously Killingham, Gunko, and Summers have been dealt with. They've been defeated and they've been cut in pieces. And their little pieces have been dispatched here and there to make sure that they don't like glue back together because of the power that Im-sama has granted them. We get one more piece of information about the power that Im-sama has granted its allies. We knew that they were functionally immortal and that they could not be killed through conventional means, right? We know that if you cut one of their limbs, the limb regrows. We know that if you cut the head off, the head regrows. We knew about the regeneration. But now we are told that in the event that you cut them into pieces, the different pieces of their body can come back together and be glued. And you have Summers who is obviously mad because he's been defeated and he's been shamed. He's giving them the whole, do you know who I am? Once I'm free, I'll deal with you guys. I am part of Im-sama's private militia. Once I'm free again, I'll all of you, I'll your families. I mean, you know that mafia boss talk that niggas give niggas. And they don't care, they're having fun with him, they're playing with him. I mean, you know they are giants, so, and he's all tiny, so they are playing with him like some kind of doll, some kind of action figure. Just like Summers was doing the whole, you know who I am talk with the giants, Killingham is doing the same thing to Sanji. He's telling Sanji how he's going to deal with him, he's going to kill him. He's like, I'll remember your face, and once I'm free, I'll come for you, I'll come for your whole family, I'll kill all of you. And Sanji is like, you are tight, why are you even threatening me? Jinbei is looking for trouble. And you know, everybody's chilling. They are done dealing with the enemy, so now, well, they think they are done dealing with the enemy. So now they are having that little post-fight talk. And then we also find out that there is some kind of metal heart. Apparently, I don't know if this is something that the God Knights carry on them or something that they place somewhere. But apparently they have like a metal heart. I don't know if they all have the same heart or if they all have separate hearts. But apparently if you destroy that heart, you might be able to cancel the powers that are granted by them by Im-sama. So I guess that's an additional weakness. We know Count Kurosaki is one weakness against the powers of the God Knights or the powers of anyone who's been granted by Im-sama. Now we also find out there's allegedly a metal heart, and if you destroy that metal heart, you might put an end to their powers. After defeating Im-sama in Gunko's body, Rocky and Luffy are there. Luffy is exhausted after using his Nika powers, which is what always happens. And Luffy is like a bit curious about Loki's powers, so he's asking, is Gunko dead? And Loki's like, oh no, she's not dead, but she will not be able to escape. There's no way she can escape from this apparently, because the only person who can unfreeze the freezing is Ragnar. So until Ragnar decides to free Gunko, she has nowhere to go. And as they are all having these wholesome moments, guess who makes an appearance? Guess who finally lands on Elbaf? Yes, Im-sama is on Elbaf. Im-sama has manifested on Elbaf. We see the pentagrams, we see the black smoke, you know, all that ceremonial that happens when Im-sama gets summoned, or when someone who has a relationship with Im-sama gets summoned. Im-sama gets summoned at the transmutation circle that was dug by Harold in his castle. We see the black smoke, we see the sky getting darker, everybody is panicking, people don't understand what's going on, Haki is being unleashed. Apparently Im-sama's powers are so strong that even some non-living things around the castle gain life. You know, the trees become conscious, the buildings become conscious because of Im-sama's power. And we see that Im-sama is about to manifest on Elbaf. The huge transmutation circle appears in the sky. Im-sama is finally about to touch grass after 600 years in the basement. So this is something we've been waiting for a very long time. Ever since we were first introduced to Im-sama 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago, we will finally get to see their face, we finally get to see what they look like, and they are finally going to touch grass. So excitation is at the climax, right? We were all on the edge of our seats. Loki is able to somehow recognize Haki because he was probably exposed to this Haki when he was going up against his father a few years ago. Im-sama appears in the throne room, and from the moment they appear, you can see some blood on the ground. So it seems like Im-sama's powers are obviously very strong, but there seems to be some kind of drawback. Now, does that mean that maybe even though Im-sama is functionally immortal, does that mean that there are also some drawbacks to their abilities? Probably. After manifesting on Elbaf, they go to the top of the castle and they basically turn into their devil form, and we see Im-sama in all their greatness, in all their power. We see them in their devil form, and then we are told that Im-sama's full name is Nerona Imu, the founder of the world government, the creator of the world government, one of the founding members of the world government. And her devil fruit is apparently called the devil fruit because her devil fruit is literally called Akuma no Mi. So does that mean that this is the original devil fruit? Does that mean that this is the strongest devil fruit? I mean, granted the powers that it can grant to other people, I think it's safe to assume that it might be at least one of the top 5 strongest devil fruits. The God Knights see their Lord, and of course they are flipping out. We see Im-sama in their devil form, the dark skin, the white hair, the probably red eyes. They're holding this evil staff. They have all this awakened devil fruit smoke around them, awakened devil fruit aura around them, and it also has the red eyes. We are all hyped. Obviously, there's going to be a confrontation between Im-sama, Luffy, and Loki, so can't wait to see that. Like I said, we are nearing the end of One Piece, and even though I'm very happy, I'm also sad because Im-sama is supposed to be one of the last things that we get to see in One Piece. Can you imagine 8 years ago when we first saw Im-sama? We didn't know that it would take 8 years to finally see their face, or to finally see their devil face. So now that Im-sama is on Elbaf, she didn't come here to advertise. She's going to beat everybody. She's going to try to fight and everybody. So how is this fight going to go down? I am super hyped for the next chapter. That's pretty much all I have to say. I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Until then, stay safe and sound. Peace.